So this noble truth of origination, and briefly I can say again, there's four aspects among the six kind of different aspects, the antidote to the six wrong perception, the 16, I'm saying the 16 wrong perceptions. Each the noble truth, we have four aspects of the wrong perception. The antidote also, there's four antidote to the four kind of the wrong perceptions I mentioned yesterday. So therefore, this noble truth of origination, four aspects. One is the aspect of cause, the cause. Second is the aspect of origin of all. And third aspect is aspect of strong protection. And the fourth one is the aspect of conditions. So which means is the first one. Why? Because if you understand the noble truth of origination, then you will be free from the following extremes of these four holding the wrong views. If you doesn't understand yet clearly of the noble truth of origination, then maybe possible you following your views the extreme of these four kind wrong aspect. So that's why we said the first one, antidote, aspect of cause of origination. Because somebody says, holding wrong view says there's no cause of the samsara. The suffering is to have no cause. That's wrong. So therefore, Buddha taught us that logically, samsara has cause. What is the cause? I mentioned you, karma and delusion. These two, that is the cause, aspect of cause. And then even if you agree that with the cause, but the cause is, I mentioned before, the wrong cause and wrong conditions. Someone says that the permanent one single cause of samsara. That is not true. So therefore, what is truth? The second aspect of origin of all. Origin of all. That is the truth one. Which means is the origin of all means is the appearance as a fully repent of samsara. The aspect of samsara is so many different kind, the various different kind of sufferings, various different kind of the repent result of samsara. Like, for example, 6 realms. So therefore, is the cause also must be is a different aspect, because one single permanent cause cannot producing various different result. This is contradiction, not possible. If fruitions many different kind, and that tells the conditions also many different. So not one single permanent cause. That is wrong. The red is origin of all, because result is many. So therefore, their origin is also many different kind, many different delusions, many different karmas. That means. And the third, the strong protection. The strong protection. The strong protection. This strong aspect of strong protection means is because some maybe of human realm, the beings, they believe cause and the conditions of the samsara and the suffering. But one important thing is necessary to depend on the creation of the credit of better God, or maybe need to depend on the creation's credit. This result of sufferings comes from depend to the creation of God, or something as deities, or something like this. Means the influence depend to the influence of the gods or the creators or the deities, Buddhas or Bodhisattvas. But that's not true, actually. Because the actual cause is the karma and the conditions of the delusions. These two, when the needed cause condition completed of the delusion, karma, and the obscuration of karma and obscuration of delusions, and then no need. On top there, no need to add some another conditions of gods creators or Buddhas, Bodhisattvas. For example, the seed is not sown under the ground. The farmer missing the red seed. There's no seed on the ground, on the field. And then even Buddha's prayers cannot help. God himself cannot creating without seed. But the needed seed is sown there, and the needed conditions of the temperatures, the moistures, the filters, or everything is completed, and then no need prayer, better Buddha or better God, but seedlings coming. So the fruitions comes from red cause and red conditions. No need to add on top there's extra others. No need, So that means is we say like karma and delusions, or the craving of the samsara, or the attachment of samsara is enough strong conditions, or strong enough to producing of the suffering of samsara. So that's why we say strong protection. The aspect strong protection is the delusion is as a strong protection. The karma is as the strong protection of this samsara. No need to add on top their other creations. And the last one, fourth aspect of origination is a condition. Aspect, the conditions. The conditions means is because if you say samsara, the suffering is naturally permanent. The suffering nature is unchangeable. Means suffering is always the reality is stable. So therefore you cannot stop, they says. But circumstantially as it can change. They says temporarily can change the suffering, but ultimately cannot change. Ultimately is the suffering or the samsara is permanent ultimately, but is temporarily impermanence can change. If you said this, that is also not logical. That is also not reasoning. It's wrong. Wrong logic and wrong reason follow. That's not true. Because why temporarily change? These are the questions. Because you must need to tell some conditions. When they completed the unfavorable conditions, and then suffering is there. But when exhaustion, unfavorable condition, then the temporary suffering is gone. So therefore, this is dependent to the cause and conditions, right? And then if something is necessarily dependent to the cause or conditions, that means is the reality also can change. The suffering nature is changeable, not true, unchangeable. Unchangeable object is not true. Because you said depend to the conditions. If necessary to depend on conditions, then the effect is not permanent. So therefore, Buddha explanations, the aspect of origination, one aspect of origination is with conditions. If you understand the suffering with the conditions, if you understand the samsara is with conditions, that means is samsara is impermanence. Suffering is impermanence. That we are lucky, we are really fortunate, because we can have chance to freedom from suffering. We have chance freedom from the faults of samsara, because that is not permanence. The samsara and the suffering is impermanence. The nature is changeable. So therefore, sooner or later, one day, we will be freedom from all the sufferings. Suffering of change, and all pervasive suffering. So that is why we need to understand what is the origination of suffering. If you clearly, logically, reasonably, if you recognize the karma and the delusion is as actual causes and conditions of suffering, then you understand, how to free from this. But if you doesn't know what is the actual cause condition from suffering, then you never found the solutions how free from the suffering not possible. For example, when we have suffering with hungry and thirsty, then why we are suffering? But I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm suffering. But why you are hungry, why you are thirsty? This is the second question. We know why we are suffering, because I'm hungry. Why I'm suffering? Because I'm thirsty. But then second question is why you are hungry, why you are thirsty. Then why you think? Oh, because not enough food, not enough drink. Okay, therefore what do you need? I need to eat food. I need to drink red water. That is. So now we understand is there's no enough good food, not enough good drink. So that's why you are hungry and thirsty. Therefore you are suffering of hungry and thirsty. So that's the point, you know. It's the origination, the noble truth origination is the origination of suffering. So these first two truths, noble truth, is we need to understand the relationships between of the cause and effect of abandonment object, because nobody wants to suffering. Everybody wants to freedom from the suffering. So therefore we need to understand suffering with the cause and without the cause. If with the cause, then which is right cause, which is wrong cause. So now the end answer is suffering with the cause, but the right cause is the karma and the origination, the delusion. These two, the origination of karma and the origination of delusion, that is the right cause of suffering. So we need to recognize this. This two is actually abandonment object. But if you couldn't recognize truth, then you cannot find the solutions to free from suffering. That's why important. First, whether you're comfortable or not, but we need to know these situations, moments. And then the rest, other two, noble truth of cessation and noble truth of path is we will talk.